Okay. So you awake to a soft knocking at your door. You gently are roused from sleep, turn over in your oversized bed, and see your butler, Eldon, kind of like softly rapping at the door frame to your room. Your room is filled with books and scrolls, little trinkets from who knows where. The shelves that line your room are stuffed to the point that some of the like artifacts and books and scrawlings they live on the floor now. Your room is really just your bed and your pile of goodies. Eldon is standing there at the door, and he looks at you and he says, "Quickly, young master, your mother requests your presence in the study."
Good morning, Mr. Eldon. Uh, what did she say? Why?
I'm afraid she has some bad news. Your presence. She requests your presence
Is it
immediately.
about Dad?
I'm not sure. I'm not at discrepancy to say. So you like jump out of your bed that's like twice your size, basically. Throw on some clothes, and you follow Eldon down to the study, which is, a room that you're not actually allowed in the house. It's pretty much where your mother lives. So you basically never see her, even though you both live in the same house. And it takes you probably like 5 minutes just to get down to this room. um, your family, you live kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, inside of a lighthouse, actually. And the study overlooks the ocean on the edge of the cliff. You enter the study, and in like a high backed, kind of red velvet chair, you can see your mother, or at least the like beehive that forms her hair, because it's sticking like another 2 or 3 feet straight up into the air over the chair. Without even turning to you, she says, "Oh yes, Eldon, good work. Bring the boy around. Come here, child."
Yes, Mother.
Listen here, little Bop. I'm afraid that I have some bad news. You see, with your father's disappearance, it seems that we are running out of money. Now, your father, being the adventurer that he is, brought back many trinkets. And myself, I'm a woman of culture. I've grown accustomed to, shall we say, a lifestyle of opulence. Now, your father's been away for quite some time, I'm sure you're aware. So he
He
hasn't
always
brought
has
us
been.
any money, the buffoon. So, Bop, that's your name, I believe. You, I, well, I'm going to need you to go get us some money.
So what you're saying is, I'm the only one who can find Dad. I
Yeah,
get it. I won't let you down. I'm gonna make you proud. I promise. I'll bring him home.
if you find your father, a bonus, but more so, I'm thinking along the lines of gold, valuables, things
Yeah.
the bird
There's
people
nothing more
squabble
valuable
over.
than Dad. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
She kind of like, okay, I'm not getting through. She snaps her fingers in the air, and you see like the butler come. He comes back in, and he's like, yes, madam. What could I do for you?" And she says, "Fetch me my husband's belongings. You know, the dirty ones." And he kind of like waddles out of the room quickly and comes back, and in his hands he has three things. So one of them is a rolled piece of parchment. One of them is like a pulsing kind of like blue gem, and then the last one is this kind of like real beat up brown copper looking ring. And your mother kind of takes the three things from him, and she hands you the ring first, and she says to you, "Now, this piece, I never quite cared for it. Not enough diamonds for my taste. But this ring should serve you well in your little trip. It's a ring of minor protection. So, if you are to be bludgeoned or stabbed or slashed, this might come in handy." And then the
Bob
next.
holds the ring up, just admiring it, open mouthed. It's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen.
Well, try it on, see if it fits.
It doesn't fit. It's way
Okay.
too big for his tiny hands.
The next thing she hands you is the glowing crystal. And she kind of picks it up and she looks at it and she's like, "I'm not sure what this is good for, but it glows, so you might use it as a flashlight. Here you go. It's not very valuable, turns out." And then the last thing that she gives you, now this is perhaps the most peculiar of the gifts. It's the parchment. She unrolls it, and you recognize immediately that it's a map, but there's something weird with it, because the corner of the map is filled in, and then the center of the map is filled in, which, as a map maker, that doesn't really make sense. So she hands you the map, and she's like, "Now, your father, he began on this map. I assume he was either too cowardly or he had so much money he needed to come home. So you will finish this map. I'm not sure how the middle could be. Well, I'm not sure how any of this could happen." So she hands you the map, and make an Arcana check on the map.
19.
Okay. So the map kind of you feel almost like a static electricity, like buzz, kind of come off the map, and you sort of hold it up and move it in the air, and the drawing etched on it is almost like holographic, kind of. But you're not really sure what to make of it. So
Fucking sick.
yeah.
I'm so excited. And do I know if this is like in my dad's handwriting or anything?
It's definitely your dad's map. Your
Right.
mom said that he started it and he just didn't
Right.
finish it.
Cool.
So she kind of like snaps her fingers again, even though like the butler is like right here, and he's like, "Oh yes, yes, madam," and she's like, bring my boy Bap to the lowest level. I think we are ready to see him off." And she kind of like slowly gets up out of her chair, and you all waddle down to the lowest level of the lighthouse, another room that you are forbidden from entering. But down here, because your dad has told you, that there's some kind of like ancient like ring structure down here that your dad uses to kind of explore the entire continent. Go ahead and make me a history check on that.
Yeah, a nat 20.
Oh, a nat 20. Okay, so you remember very fondly, and the memory is almost crystal clear to you, that this structure, it wasn't made by humans. It wasn't made by gnomes. Your dad claims that it was made by something called the Zoltan Chamala. And even though many people claim that they are kind of like a child's fairy tale, and your dad knows that they're out there, or else how could this exist? So your mother walks over to like a kind of like tall tablet looking like obelisk on the side of the ring, and she just kind of like whacks it, and in the center of the ring, like starlight kind of starts to form and spin and like expands out and stars kind of fling off to the side until you're kind of looking at this like white, like undulating, spinning portal thing. Your mother looks at it and looks to you and says, I know, it's beautiful, but it's quite boring. Now, I think you must be on your way. Um, she turns and leaves the room, leaving you with just Eldon in the room. And he kind of looks at you and he says, now, Master Bap, I've seen you grow from, well, you've grown. Not much, but you've grown. We've seen you grow from a small boy to a slightly larger boy. And, we couldn't just show you off without saying our goodbyes. So kind of like
Bapa just interrupts him with an extended hand and is like, "It's all right, Mr. Eldon.
So
I'm ready."
Eldon is like, "Oh, yes, quite, yes, quite." And from the corner of the room, you hear someone kind of like shuffle towards you, and you turn around, and you recognize immediately it's Helja, your dwarven nanny. And she kind of looks at you and she says, "Oh, what are you doing? You're not going to say bye to me before you go." And she like reaches out her arms like this for like a big bear hug.
Yeah, I think Bob just like winces in preparation for the hug.
Yeah, the hug is a part like body slam, and she kind of like grabs Bob and lifts him up into the air. She's obviously like way stronger than any of the gnomes here, and she's like, she's pecking you on your cheek while she's got you. And she says, "Now,
all right, Helja, all right. I'm gonna be home."
And she says, "Now stay away from any fish people. They're smelly. Stay away from any cat people. They're all arseholes. And stay away from the bird people. They think they're better than everyone else. And if you find anyone else, you're in trouble."
Okay. Yeah, I've read all about them. I know.
All right. And you've got your gun?
Yeah, right here. He pats his like leather armor and it's just like this dusty gun hanging off of it, grease dripping out.
She kind of looks at it and she goes, "Oh, that'll keep you safe, I'm sure." Great.
He looks closer at it again and realizes like there's a piece missing, and then just like kind of tries to fix it while like hiding it a little bit.
All right. So she kind of takes a step back and she says, "All right, well, it's now or never. We'll be here when you get back. And we'll know when you're ready to come back. The portal will open for you."
Is that how it works? This thing just opens whenever I want?
That's it.
Mostly. He's like looking at the portal now. He's never seen this portal, right?
No, he's never seen it.
Yeah. He's like bewildered by it, I think. So it's just like a swirly, milky white circle in the air.
Yeah. So. And Helja, like before you kind of like take your tentative steps towards it, she says, we mostly know how it works, but your father can't seem to take it back, so just be careful out there.
He's not. He's fine. I'm gonna find him.
I'm sure he's fine. It's been a while. I guess you better go find him.
All right, yeah. Bob's set now. He's determined. He's, I think, just gonna reach a hand through the portal first.
Okay.
Test the waters.
Okay. So you put your little nubby gnome hand through the portal, and the other side the air is cool. There's no breeze, nothing, but it's just a little bit cooler on the other side.
He brings his hand back in to look at it.
Okay. There's there's cobwebs all over your hand.
He like uses the dirty hand and like does a little goodbye to his two fake parents, but
the
real parents,
the
and then he just
dwarf
jumps backwards through the portal.
the dwarf nanny is, like glowing, like, "Oh, go get him!" And the butler just kind of like, "Oh Lord, great." Um, so you jump through the portal and experience this kind of like flipping sensation. Your stomach is like whoop ooh, whoop ooh, and when you come through, you're sitting on kind of like a stone floor. The room is dark. You're definitely in some kind of structure. You can make out there are pillars around you. They don't appear to have any special kind of markings as to who would have made these. They look a little crude to you, in fact. Um, there are some like bone kind of chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, and mostly this kind of structure seems to be a ruin to you.
Um, can I like, based on the like shape of the room, does there seem to be anything on the map that resembles it? Like, I think I'm looking at the map and like looking around the room and trying to be like, where am I? Because
Yeah,
I can't imagine there's a world outside of what my dad has put on this map.
yeah. So your instinct is immediately to check where you are. You're in the corner of the map that's filled in. And the kind of like squarish shape of this room you can see clearly reflected in your dad's map there.
Cool. So I feel super confident now.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, awesome. I know where I am.
Yeah, so you know that your dad has been here.
Yeah. And so from here, there's no way to get to the center on the map. It's just sort of like empty space between the two.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so there's no like discernible path or anything. It's like literally just blank. And then in the center, uh the center is just like almost like a circle. It looks like a swirl kind of that's in the center of the map. But you
Hmm.
can tell it's some kind of building or structure.
Yeah, I think without even like spending much time looking around here, Bob just walks towards where the center is on the map,
Okay.
just
So
leaving the room behind
so
confidently.
you kind of
He
stand
knows
up
where he's going.
in the chamber, and like just the sound of you kind of standing up echoes in this building, and the hallway in front of you is just black. You can kind of like barely see in front of you. um, Roll me a perception check.
5.
um
He's not
okay.
paying much attention.
No,
He's got his head in the map, you know. He's
he's
just
excited to get going.
yeah.
So you walk into the next chamber, and from inside this chamber, you hear uh, maybe it's a mouse, maybe it's something more, but just like shuffling, scuffling.
Oh well.
Okay, you keep walking in the chamber. Roll me another perception check.
6. We're going up.
6. um, as you walk through the chamber, the sound of the scuffling, shuffling, whatever it might be, maybe whispering, it's not getting any louder, and it doesn't seem to be getting any closer to you. And you're continue. Do you want to continue to walk through the room?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
So
it has like basically just reached his conscious mind that it's interesting that there's a sound in here at all.
Okay. So
but he still doesn't really feel concerned about it or anything.
okay. So as you reach the threshold to the next room, you kind of pull out your map to take a peek at how close you are. Um, and the map has sort of filled in your steps. So the room that you've just walked through is now filled in on your map. You are nowhere near the middle of the map. It's basically a dot. The room you've just walked through.
Hmm, I
So
see.
you've got potentially you're estimating if you run as fast as you can, which of course you can with your long legs. It might take you maybe a month or two to reach the center.
Hmm. All right, I guess now is going to be the first time he's going to actually look around him,
Okay.
thinking about doing something other than just walking forward.
Okay.
So I'm going to do like an investigation,
Okay.
just see what's around.
Okay.
15.
Okay. So this room has much more embellishment to it than the last room. You can see that there are like furs draped from the ceiling. There's some kind of like banner or like arms that are hanging from the ceiling. They look mostly gray because of like the dust and spider webs and the cobwebs that cover them, but they definitely appear to be cloth to you. In the on one side of the room you can see what used to be most likely like a hearth, something like that. There's a skull on top of it. You're not sure what kind of skull. um, and then the other side of the room looks like it used to be a table and like a bench or something, but it's mostly just like wooden pulp now.
Hmm. Um,
And
can I
from
dust off the banners? Just see what kind of emblem is on them?
so the banners are like really
Too
high
high
up.
up?
Do you want to
Okay.
throw something at them, like a rock or?
Um, yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think let's do that. If there's a rock nearby.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you pick up like a broken piece of flagstone. Go ahead and roll me an attack roll for for throwing a rock at the banner.
So is it just a regular vanilla D20?
Yeah,
I assume
yeah,
I don't have proficiency with rock throwing, so
not yet.
not yet.
But you can have advantage because the banner is pretty big.
Okay. 18.
Okay, you definitely did it. All right, so you kind of pick up like a little piece of the flagstone, look up at like the closest banner, and huck it at it. The banner makes like a whoo sound, and the rock actually just like goes through it, but it's enough force to kind of shake it so that like this like cloud of dust just slowly falls to the ground and like on the banner you can see it's like a black and yellow insignia, and inside there's a yellow circle with the skull of what looks like maybe a bear, maybe a wolf, maybe something like in between those two.
I start drawing the emblem in the room on the map,
Okay.
just to mark it.
Okay, so as you're drawing that, from behind you, from the hearth, you kind of hear that scratching, uh, like wispy sort of noise again
From the hearth. Okay.
from the hearth. Yeah.
Um, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go look at the hearth.
Okay, so as you approach the hearth, you feel as though you're being watched. Make me an insight check.
16.
Okay. Um, you also feel like kind of the awkwardness of like staring someone in the eyes for too long, you're getting that feeling here too. And the wispy, scratchy sound, it's right in front of you. But the hearth it's not like a chimney. It just ends right there. The sound is coming from above the hearth, possibly the skull. What do you want to do?
Um, I want to look at the skull
Okay.
above the hearth.
Okay.
I think we're going to start with
Feels
that.
this feels incredibly awkward. Like
Like, yes, yeah.
you
Bob
feel
doesn't like.
yeah, you feel strange. And also you're a little spooked from the skull. Roll me a nature check to see if you recognize the species.
I recognize it.
Oh, nat 20. Okay, you know it's not a dwarf skull. You know it's too narrow to be a dwarf skull. It's too big to be a gnome skull. It's definitely not a bird skull, not a fish skull, not an owl skull. Uh,
It can't exist. Those are all the things.
and
Unless, is it a? I'm gonna have to look at my notes. I forgot entirely what this thing is called.
Zatane
Is it a
Shamala.
Zitane Shamaska? Yeah.
The the raspy
That's gonna
noise.
give him like goosebumps to think that that might even be the case, and be like exciting. And I think he's gonna cast Detect Magic.
Okay. So you cast detect magic, and you detect there is like a very like kind of sickly green magic sort of swirling around the skull. And the skull the skull is like a little bit, it's kind of like it's moving towards you.
Okay. I think while like staring forward, Bob starts backing up out of fear.
The
Just
skull
like,
the skull like basically moves itself off the ledge over the hearth onto the ground and like hits the ground with like a, and it starts just rolling towards you. And it's moving kind of fast as if like someone was walking at you.
okay. I'm gonna run away.
Okay. So before you turn to run away, you can hear wait, don't. And then you take off into the next corridor. So inside the next room there is make an investigation check. Let's see what you can see.
20 not nat.
Okay, still pretty good. Um, so in this room, in the center of the room, there looks like what used to be like a hearth. And there's some like what was probably at one point like animal flesh or something hanging over it. Behind that, there are two chairs, and they're kind of like imbued with a bunch of different animal bones that sort of come up and form like a crown above one of them. The other one has the same kind of crown motif, it's just a little smaller. And they have like large bone kind of like armrests. And to the left and to the right, you see kind of more like destroyed tables and like plates and things like that.
Um, can I investigate the skeletal structure thing?
Of the chair,
Yeah,
roll me an investigation check.
7.
Okay. Um, Even though some dust kind of gets up in your eye, there's now a skeleton sitting in the chair. He He is sitting there like perfectly still, but the skull on his head rotates slowly, and you hear like the grinding of bone on bone as he looks directly at you. uh, the sound that comes from his mouth is same thing. It's like this kind of like stone on stone grinding as he gets up and says to you, "What are you?"
I could ask you the same thing.
He takes a step towards you off the throne, and he kind of like he's inspecting you, and he says to you, "You are no Talan. You're too small to be a Jaghut, and surely your scales must be small if you're a Zetaine. What do you want to tell him that you are?"
I'm just a kid.
I have never
You're a
heard.
you're a skeleton.
I've never heard of such a race as the Kid. Where do you hail?
I live in a lighthouse with my mom and Master Eldon and Nan.
The House of Light. So you
Well,
war
it doesn't light up anymore.
you war against the Black One, he who is chained, or do you serve the Master, Nagash?
I I don't know. I don't know. I just like to explore and make maps. And I want to be a famous adventurer.
The skeleton kind of he says nothing, and he's kind of staring at you for a second, sort of trying to figure out what you're saying. Um, and he looks at you and he says, "You're no Talarn, but you sure look like one." And as he does that, from behind him, you see now there are several more skeletons. Uh, in fact, like looking around now, make a perception check.
10.
Okay. Looking around now, you see that the dust, from out of the dust, there are a lot of skeletons. The hall that you're in is filled with these skeletons. Some of them are naked. Some of the some of them have like fur pelts kind of on their shoulders. They wear like cracked, ancient looking leather helms. The metal that was in any of their armor is rusted and chinked and scratched. Um, and they're most of them are kind of like standing silently looking at you now. The room is filled and the exit is blocked. Tell us,
Um,
small Talarn, why are you here?
I show them the map. Just like, I just want to explore it.
This is
And then putting
our
it back into my coat, I like put one hand on my gun, getting ready.
Okay. They do not recognize the gun as a weapon. So they have no reaction to that. Um but the one in front of you, he looks up at you and kind of like sort of looks over the map. At least you think he does. He has no eyes, so you're not really sure. And he says, "This is our home. We are sealed here beneath the earth. We travel the ways of dust. How could you have possibly gotten in here?"
Oh, I took the portal. You you guys don't know about the portal?
Such such technologies are lost.
Not to my dad. He looks super proud.
Maybe you are a Zetaine then. And so the skeletons are not really sure what to do with you because you're not really a threat to them. So the head honcho skeleton in front of you, kind of like gets down to your level and it says, "What can I do for you, little Talarn?"
Show me. Show me the rest of your world.
uh, you cannot travel our roads, Talarn. You you are not Amtos. You are still flesh. You are still blood.
Um, I'm gonna say, have you seen someone else, also flesh and blood,
There was
come
an
through the same room?
there was another who came long ago. He, like us, served Nagash. He, like us, was seeking something against the Dark One. He also looked, Talon, like similar to you, but fatter, hairier.
Mm-hmm.
You know this Talarn?
Did you hear his name?
He did not speak. He came and he left. We are not sure how he could have possibly left.
Which way did he go?
So the skeletons behind the throne and in front of you, they kind of part and they all point to just the back wall in the throne room, like between the two chairs. And the like leader says he walked into the wall.
All right. Bob gets into like a runner's stance, aimed straight at the wall,
Yeah.
platform 9 3/4
Yeah.
style,
Okay.
sprints at it as fast as he can.
Okay, so you sprint at the wall and there's there's quite a lot of cobblestones, not the webs in between the two chairs kind of like get in your face and you give like a and then the next thing you know, you hit the wall. And you
Wow.
you fall down onto the flagstones, but from the wall you hear like a sound. And you can feel there's like a cool breeze coming in behind the wall.
Okay, I'm gonna investigate the wall.
Okay.
Modified 20.
Okay. So you kind of get up, you rub your head a little bit and put your hands up to the like flagstones of the wall, and the stones under your hands, they vanish. And before you now, you see what looks to be a completely different room. The floors are polished oak. There's a lit fire in the center of the room with some kind of creature and something other there by the fire.
Hello? Are you another skeleton man?
The creature sitting at the fire kind of turns, and you can make out two large like tusks on the bottom of its mouth. And it says, "Come, join us. If you're here for a reason."
I am here for a reason. I'm looking for someone.
Do you want to step into the room?
Yeah, he
Okay.
steps into the room while saying this.
Okay, so you step into the room, and the room behind you with the skeletons is gone. And you looking behind you now, it's just like a wooden wall. That world, that tomb, wherever you were, is gone.
I want to
Um,
look at the map.
okay, so you look at the map. You're in a different corner of the map. Now you're in like the top right corner of the map.
Doesn't make
Uh,
any sense.
and you kind of tread over to the fire. The kind of creature sitting at the front of the fire is roll me a history check.
14.
Okay. You seem to remember some kind of legend about a race that once walked this earth who had large tusks on the bottom of their mouths. But you remember them as tyrants, and you remember them being they were driven from the world and expelled. The
I've heard about
large
you.
Oh, what do you know about my people?
You don't exist anymore.
Truly, that's what the boneheads would want you to think. There are, admittedly, few of us left, but we still live. We still have power. We just prefer to be left alone. And next to him, this sort of other thing that you saw before, it starts to like un un like unfurl itself. Uh, its skull, you can actually tell it's some kind of humanoid, is elongated. The length of it is double to triple that of yours. It's like almost like a chapel the way this skull looks. Its arms and legs have two, possibly three more joints than yours, and it seems to be able to bend itself in on itself. So it's unraveling itself in front of the fireplace until finally it's standing completely straight. It's towering above you. This thing is massive. It's probably like 10 feet tall, and the top of its skull is almost touching the ceiling. It looks down at you and it says, "How did you get in here, little one?"
I reach a hand towards my gun and I say, I walked.
The large, like multi-jointed creature kind of looks over at his companion and he goes, "He walked." And the tusk guy kind of looks up at him and goes, "Huh, well, maybe we can leave." So he gets up and he walks to the right side of the room where there's a door. He flings open the door, and beyond the door, there's forest, woods, bird song, grass. It looks like a forest. And outside of that, you're kind of following them both out to the front of this like house. Outside of that, there's a small stone fence. He pushes the like decrepit wooden fence joining the stone, but he can't. He's trying to take the step, but he can't. You look down at his foot, and there are roots wrapped around his foot, crawling up his leg. And he kind of like gives it 1, 2, 3, and looks down, sees the roots, and goes, "Well, it was worth a shot." And then he looks back at you and he goes, "Do you know where you are, or what you are, what we're in?" You
I show him the map and I point to the corner and I'm like, yeah, we're here.
This place is a place of sealing. I'm not sure I'm not sure if your people have legends of these houses. This is what my people call an Azath house. And he like kind of like turns you around to look at the structure. It's not impressive at all. Uh, the structure, the roof is collapsed. Uh, the stonework is clearly showing its age, and at the top of the building, like in the center of the collapsed roof, is this like large willow tree that doesn't seem to be affected by the wind, even though the forest around you, every other tree is blowing in the
I look at him and I'm like, oh, it's kind of nice.
wind. Well, he's kind of laughing, not at you. He thinks you're funny. And he's like,
Yeah.
he's
Can I take a step past where he was allowed to?
you want to try?
Yeah, I want to see what happens at least.
Okay, so you walk up to the gate. You open the gate and performance.
You want me to do a performance check?
Yep, I want a performance check.
Okay. Critical fail.
Okay, so you walk up to the gate, and kind of you stand right before where he stood. Bring your leg up, and then go to take a giant step, and instead lose your footing, fall on your face, but you clear the plane between the gate and the Azath house. You're on the other side of the gate. He looks at you and says, "How did you do that?"
And I say what I said when I first came in here. I walked. I just start walking back and forth over the threshold.
He looks at you and he's like, "Okay, now you're just showing off." The long, like multi-jointed creature thing kind of comes out, and he's like watching you, moving like he just moves like very slowly and very like methodically. Um, and he looks at his like companion and he says, "This is an annoying creature
All
indeed."
right, I stop. Um, and I think I need to talk to these people a little bit, ask them some questions and stuff.
All right, what do you want to ask them?
Who are you?
So the blue one with the tusks, he starts, and he takes like a bow, and he says, "My name is Fisher Keltath. You may have read some of my poems. I'm sure that by now I'm quite famous."
I look at him just like dead stare, fully blank, no
He
idea.
he looks at you and he says, "Fisher Keltath, the poet."
Oh, yeah, yeah. We don't have a lot of
He kind of
poetry.
throws his hands up and he walks back into the house.
I look
um,
at the other guy, his companion, the
mhm.
really tall crystal skull.
He looks down at you, and he like bends his body down so that he's like looking at you face to face. And you see now that he has no pupils. His eyes are just black. And his teeth like sort of like come to like a very triangular point, and his bottom jaw comes to meet them. He's just a very like weird looking thing here, and he's totally hairless too. Um, and so he like you think looks you in the eyes and he says, "My name is Justice," and then he like just kind of unfurls and stands back up.
Why are you guys here?
He looks down at you and he says, "Every Azath house, there are many, has guardians. We are the guardians of this house. You see your weapon, he kind of like looks down at your gun, is nothing here. You are a bug.
Well, then what are you guarding this house from?
We guard the house from its occupants. And he looks down at the dirt, and in the dirt, you see this kind of like swirling, uh, like the grass, like beneath your feet, is sort of like swirling, and it's sort of like alive and moving. And he puts his hand on the grass and sort of like does this to pull aside like dirt and earth, and below the dirt and the earth there's a face, and the face speaks. It's uh it's tusked. It's a blue skinned tusked kind of humanoid, and it looks up and it says, "Ah, finally, the sun. So you finally run out of strength, huh? You finally can't contain me anymore." And the like multi-limbed creature just kind of takes his hand and he covers the face with the dirt again, and you can hear from under the ground it going like, "No, no!" This house houses creatures, beings, things too deadly to be let out into this world. Every Azoth house is drawn to power. Those who have power either become its guardians, like myself, or become its prisoners, like Rost.
Um,
What would you like to do?
what would I like to do?
So, have you found any
I'm,
treasure?
um, I, I guess I should try to find some treasure. That's what my mom wants, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Let's look around the house.
Okay.
Investigate for some treasure.
All right.
19.
Okay. Nice. So inside the house, uh, kind of looking around now, you see there are actually like many more rooms than what you had originally thought. Um, and the hallway with the fireplace, it's much more embellished than you originally had kind of seen. There's a like entire set of armor that it's definitely for justice, because there's no way that anyone else could wear it. To the left of that, on like a pedestal, you see a small acorn tied to a string. You're not sure uh, what that is. And then next to that, there is a kind of like stone circle. Uh, Stone circle. Maybe it's a bracelet. Maybe it's an amulet. You're not sure what that is.
Can I look more at the bracelet?
Yeah. So do a
Do like
history.
a okay, 8.
Okay. So the kind of like inscriptions and things on this stone circle, you don't recognize them. Uh, and as far as like discerning any kind of language, you're not even sure that you couldn't make heads or tails of what's on this, but it does share some kind of likeness. At least you think. You didn't get a good look, but you think it shares some kind of likeness to the portal back home.
It looks like the portal home.
You think it shares some likeness.
Okay, yeah. It has some common. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Um, can I? I'm gonna ask them about all these items. Actually, I think.
Okay. All right. So
Where
Fisher.
did these come from?
Okay. So Fisher Keltath kind of turns. He's really the talker in this relationship.
Yeah,
And you can
I
see he's
suppose.
still visibly upset that you don't know who he is. Um, and he kind of like comes over and he's like, armor, acorn, and that we actually don't know what that is. That was here before we got here. We think that belongs to that guy. And he points over into the corner of the room, and there's like this large skeleton in the corner of the room, kind of like slouched over like this. Go ahead and make like a either nature or animal handling check on this.
8.
Okay. So the skeleton is like the only thing you can tell from the skeleton is it's not mammalian. It has like a large, elongated skull, not like how Justice's skull is tall but long, and the sort of like jawbone is ridged with tiny like sharp teeth all the way to the front. Instead of any kind of mandible to grab things, it only has two like large bony kind of blades protruding from its arms. And Fisher Keltath kind of like turns to you and looks at you and says, "Oh, don't worry, he's long dead, and I mean dead, dead, not like the Talarn. He's actually dead." Um,
That's probably for the best.
um, and
Can I ask you guys? Has anyone else come through here?
you're the first. Well, I don't know what you are. You seem nice though. You're the first. You're the first creature to come through our door and over. He looks over at Justice and says, "How long has it been?" And Justice kind of just goes.
Hmm.
And Fisher Keltath goes, "Well, it's been. Is the world still covered in ice?
No,
Is the sky still red?
no, the sky's blue.
Oh, hmm. Well, it's been a long time. It's been a very
Yeah.
long time.
You see, I'm looking for somebody.
Oh, tell me.
Well, he'll look kind of like me, but older and bigger and with a long white beard and
Hmm. Yeah, he sounds great, I guess. Does he look? He looks like you, like small and
well, he is great, but he's missing. And I'd heard he might have come through here. See,
you
that's why I actually am here.
and you wish to seek him out.
Yeah.
Will you do this? This is a gross thing you do. Okay. Um. So he like he goes like rummaging in the pile of bones next to no, he just goes rummaging in like the pile of bones who was like the last guardian or whoever. And he kind of yanks out like a bone from the arm, and it sort of comes out with like a and he hands it to you, and he says, "Here, take this. It'll be useful. You'll want to have this. We can stay in communication with this."
Okay.
And he kind of sees your confusion and grabs the bone and like hits it on the ground, and there's like a yellow like brown spark that runs like through the bone, and he goes, "Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn it on. Here you go." And he hands it back to you.
Oh, cool. Now I'm looking at it like thinking about all the things I could use to make stuff out of this, and yeah, cool. He like finds a spot for it in his already way overpacked backpack. That's like at least half the size I am.
Beautiful, beautiful. Um, so Fisher Keltoth, like he walks outside, he brings you outside, and he's like, "Now I am not sure about your friend, but I'm thinking that you're gonna want to be heading towards this." And he kind of like points to the center of your map. You're going to need to head that away. And he points towards what you can see beyond the jungle is like a mountain top with maybe there might be like a structure or something up there. I would start with that. And that is where it ends.